Okay. So, been a couple of weeks since I've been live. Been I wouldn't say very busy, but very focused on what I'm doing at the moment. Because I think, and maybe there's some lessons in this in itself, think since I really made an absolute decision to kind of go all in on both the affiliate side and YouTube in terms of as an advertising platform, then my head has been really focused on that. And of course, what's come out of that, this is really interesting in the sense that a couple of things. One, I made a decision. I think that's important. There's an interesting, I don't know how old this will be, but there's an interesting interview with Will Smith, probably from, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago now, where he talks about the power of making a decision. And there's a lot of truth to that. It's like, you've got to decide this is the direction I'm going in. I've talked before about the idea of, understanding what your vision is and how that is driven by your values. Like for me, freedom is probably my most important value. So the freedom to have autonomy of my life, to choose the hours that I work, to choose the people that I go talk to, the things that I do online and so on. So out of that, of course, then it was really a question of, all right, what's going to give me the most freedom that allows me to play to my strengths? So I think it's important, obviously, to at least have some understanding of your strengths. And for me, that was really about, okay, look, I'm very good at the creative side. I'm very good at selling. I'm very good at marketing. It's like, how do I leverage all of that? And then what I'm not necessarily brilliant at is kind of ongoing customer relationships. Not that I don't like my customers. I do. Not that I don't love people. Absolutely love people. Always want to make an impact. Always want to make a difference. But I'm not necessarily good at an ongoing, keeping in touch, dropping things off for people, all that kind of stuff, which I know my wife calls it relationship management, which I know some people are superb at. And that's just not really, because my brain's off. It's always off on the next thing. It's always off on the next creative thing. So I'm not necessarily great at that. So that's not a strength for me. So then it was a question of, okay, so how do I leverage all of those strengths? How do I design a business model that gives me the freedom? And then beyond that, it's like, okay, what skills matter? So, if you're doing any kind of planning, then obviously within that, and I've talked about this in previous lives, if you want to go back through any of the lives on YouTube, then obviously understanding the skills you need to make your plan work. So once you understand the goals, once you understand your strategy, then it's really a question of, okay, what skills do you need to implement the strategy? Because of course, if you haven't got the skills, you can't do it. It's like saying, okay, well, the strategy is we're going to get from here to Land's End to John O'Groats in a car. Well, what skills do you need? Well, we need the skill of driving. So if you haven't got the skill, it doesn't matter how good the car is, it ain't moving. So it's that sort of idea. So yeah, so I made a decision. I then was like, and it was brand new, like affiliate marketing in the sense of picking products that I absolutely don't own and really just kind of getting a sense of, are they good? Are they decent? And how do you measure that? So that's been part of my focus as well. And really as a means to, I guess, mastering my skills. So if I made the decision that I'm doing this and I've made that decision I'm doing this with YouTube ads, then it's like, okay, so the next step then is you got to master the skill of running YouTube ads. And so there's two elements to that. One is the ads themselves, which is the creative aspect, which is copywriting. So all the things I've used in the past, all the things I've done in the past. And then the second part of that, of course, is what does the platform allow me to do? Like, what does the platform give me that I can leverage strategically? So certainly at the moment, the algorithms are very good. They are able to, like, if you set a conversion goal and say, for example, like if they arrive on X page, it means they bought something. Then you can set that as a conversion goal. Then you can look to, for example, in YouTube, you can look to maximize conversion. So that's one way of strategically leveraging what the platform gives you. And that's what I mean by that. And that's more interesting as well, I think, is I didn't get that out of a training course. Like I decided ages ago, this idea of running ads on YouTube and such, like, whenever I've run any ads, I've always gone off and gone, okay, who can I learn from? Who's kind of, who's going to give me direction? Who's going to help me speed up that process of not doing it all by trial and error? So I have bought over the years several YouTube courses, but I think because the algorithm has got so good recently, some of the things, like I went back through some of my notes and some of the things they were talking about in there just weren't strategically the best way of doing things anymore. And so, like this idea of being able to say, okay, I want to choose maximize conversions, for example, didn't really exist I don't know, the last 2 years. So things like that in the courses that I've been looking at, and even then listening to more recent material where, people are kind of all focused in on the ad and the creative and how important the creative is and why it's the most important thing these days. Like, all of that's true, but none of that matters really unless you understand how to set it up correctly in the platform. So if nobody's saying, look, you should be selecting this maximize conversions option, and you're just hearing this message over and over again that you've got to be, the creative matters, you've got to get the creative really good, and all you're hearing is that, then you're missing out on something. And that's what I was finding. Like, people weren't talking about the things. They'd say the algorithm is great, but they wouldn't then say, here's how you maximize the advantage the algorithm gives you. Like, nobody was telling me that. So that was something I had to kind of dig deep into and find out for myself. But that came up as a question. Because, of course, like, logically, when I got into the platform, it was like, okay, I write the ad. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, so if the algorithm is really good at finding me buyers, then, of course, in my head, like, the first question is a bit like modeling. The first question was, okay, well, how does it know when somebody's bought something? Like, how does YouTube's algorithm know when somebody's bought my product? And that was my first question. So, of course, once I start from that place, it's like, well, how does it know? And then you get into this thing and I start doing some research. It's like, okay, this thing called conversion. So you can tell it what a conversion action is. It's like, okay, well, how do I do that? And then you get into the tracking aspect and discover that actually the best way to do that is through using Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics 4 and all this kind of stuff. So then that became a bit of a learning curve. So I learned all of that. And then even actually that takes us into tracking. So this week with I'm doing something for a friend of mine, and his tracking, because everything he does is organic. He hasn't really got any real measurable tracking in place. So it's like, okay, well, that's not good enough. How do we track all of this properly so that we know that these conversions are coming from the ads? Because although, I can certainly on the ad, you can put a tracking link, and obviously you can set UTM parameters, and so that's all great. But it needs a way of saying, okay, when it lands on his landing page, do we know if somebody then converts? Do we know where they came from, and so on and so on? So all of that, got into all of that. So then we ended up using a combination of Google Tag Manager, the tracking links, the UTM parameters, and also having an affiliate program at his end where I could effectively set myself up as an affiliate for his products so that I could then use affiliate links with extra variable tracking on it so that we could say, yes, this absolutely came from the work that we're doing on YouTube ads and so on and so on and so on. So anyway, so tracking, massively important. So anyone that says it isn't is kidding you. And it's not necessarily the simplest or the straightest thing. As you dig into it, you discover there's more things you need to know, more things you need to be aware of. And then it's like, well, how do we solve that? How do we solve that? How do we solve that? Which kind of brings me back to my philosophy on most of these things. Everything is problem solving. It's like you're always solving problems. So this week, been running these ads, and I mentioned in the title of this is all about the math. So, and there's a good comparison here. So I had reached out to one of the product people on the affiliate platform and was asking for their CPA option. So rather than having a situation where, for example, like if you make a sale and you got a commission based on the sale value, CPA is more kind of, no, you get paid a fixed amount for whatever the action is they define. Now, the action can be a sale. The action could also be a lead. Like if you generate a lead, you get paid for the lead. So in this case, it was paid for the initial sale. Now, the advantage of the CPA version is that, one, it's a fixed amount. So you know up front exactly what you're getting per sale. There's also, because it's not a commission of the sale, there are no refunds. So in other words, if somebody, like if the product owner offers a 60-day money-back guarantee, and you sent somebody and they bought the product, and you go, whoa, great, I made a commission. But then that person refunds and they claw back your commission. Because, of course, that person isn't a sale anymore. But with CPA, the rules are a little different in the sense they say, no, we'll pay you X amount per sale. And even if the person refunds, it doesn't matter. You still keep your X amount. So let's say X amount, we'll keep the number simple. Let's say the CPA amount is $100. So in other words, for every initial sale, you get paid $100. It's like, great. So now you've got a figure to aim for. So from a maths point of view, it's like, okay, I'm going to make $100 per sale. So what am I willing to spend to make a sale? So in my case, I kind of halve it. Like as a starting point, it's okay, if I put $1 in, I get $2 out. So I'm willing to spend $50 to make a sale. So it's like, great. So then you work back from that. Now here's where it gets kind of interesting. I'll just, I was doing some calculations this morning in my journal on this. And so I'll do a comparison for you. So think of it this way. I've got a situation where we run an ad We need people to see the ad. We need people to then click on the ad. Excuse me. So then when they click, they go through to my landing page. So the first page they see is a page that I've created. My landing page then gives them a button. When they click the button, excuse me. When they click that button, inside the button is my affiliate link to take them to the product owner's sales page. So then if a sale's made, they can track it back to me as the affiliate, and therefore I get paid. So in this sense, you've got the sales page itself. How well does that convert? So I needed to know that. So I emailed them and say, okay, look, give me an idea of how well your sales page converts. And it's usually arranged, obviously, depending cold traffic, warm traffic, there's a difference. So the range was, over 1% up to around about 3%. So it's about, let's say, 1.5% to 3%. That's not bad. So you go, okay, well, I can work with that. So I know, let's say it's 1.5% conversion. So for every 100 people that arrive on that sales page, on average, 1.5 sales are made. Obviously you can't have half a sale, but you get my point from a maths point of view. And I know I'm willing to spend £50 per sale. So I know my £50 has got to pay for that 1.5%. So then you work backwards. Okay, so then for every 100 people that arrive the way I work backwards, if I say I need 100 people on the sales page, then I need 100 people to have clicked through from my landing page. So then you say, okay, so how well is my landing page doing its job? So if we allow, and then this is a guide from my sort of results for this type of product and service, I'm looking at around about 80%. It's usually higher than that, but let's say 80% of the people that come to my landing page click the button to go to the sales page. Now, I've had situations where it's like 99.9%, but I'm saying 80% conservatively. So if I need 100 people to arrive at the sales page, that means I need 125 people on my landing page. That makes sense? So we're doing the maths, we're working back, and we're saying, okay, for every 100 people at the sales page, so that I know I'm going to make at least a sale or a sale and a half on average, then to get 100 people there, I need 125 people on my landing page because that's 80%. 80% of 125 gives me the 100. Then you work back further and it's like, okay, so what can I spend? Because obviously for somebody to get to my landing page, they needed to have clicked on my ad. So now it's like, how many clicks do I need to the landing page to get the 100? Obviously, I need 125 people on the landing page, which means I need 125 clicks to do that. Then it's like, okay, so what can I afford to spend per click in order to still get my $50 profit per sale? And then so you do the maths on that, and it works out around about 50 cents a click, a little bit more, but about 50 cents a click. And you go, okay, great. So now I know I can afford to spend 50 cents a click. So if I'm running an ad and it's costing me $1.50 a click, that's way out. So then you get an idea once you've run the ads, because all the platforms charge you by 1,000 impressions. No matter what else you see in the stats, really it's an auction and you're paying per 1,000 impressions. And it's how many clicks can you get out of your 1,000 impressions is how good the ad is. So if you work that back, okay, so 1,000 impressions, I can afford 50 cents a click. So, how many clicks can I get for that out of a thing, and so on and so on. So you work back, and basically what I ended up with is for this type of product, I need my ad to have a click-through rate of at least 1.7%, ideally 2%. So in other words, 2% of the people who see my ad click on it. So if I can get 2% clicking on the ad, then I can make my $50 per sale. So in other words, I can afford to spend $50 to get a sale, and on $100 per sale, that means I'm making $50 profit as well. So that was kind of a bit rushed, and I obviously should have got a whiteboard so I could map it out for you. But you get the idea. What I've done is, the important thing to take from this is, I'm working backwards and basically getting a target for how good my ad needs to be. So the target in this case, let's keep the number simple. The target in this case, 2%. I need a 2% click-through rate on my ad. So if I look at my current ad for that product or my current ads for that product, and I go, okay, they're not getting anything like that. Like one of them's only doing 0.61%, one's doing a little bit better. And it's like, no, this is not good enough. So therefore, I need to write a better ad. So then we're into the creative, we're into the copywriting. I know how good my ad needs to be. Does that make sense? I've got a target. Now, going back to my friend who I'm helping out, he can afford to spend, not in dollars, but we'll keep it in dollars just for simplicity, $10 per lead. So if he can afford to spend $10 per lead, then of course, first of all, I don't know how well his landing page is converting, so I make an assumption on that, and I say, okay, it's a free workshop, so they're registering for free. So therefore, if we say we're looking at about 40% conversion on landing page, so for every 100 people that arrive at the landing page, for every 100 clicks from the ad, 40 of those people we expect to sign up for the free workshop. So that's a 40%. So if we work back from that, because he's got more money to play with, like, effectively $10 per lead, and we're assuming 40% on the landing page, that may change, of course. We might find out the landing page is only doing 20%, in which case we either need a much better ad or we need a much better landing page. And in that case, if the ad's doing pretty well, then I'd be inclined to say, okay, let's split test the landing page and get the landing page up to 40%, or do a combination of the two where we get the ad a little bit higher percentage of click-through rate and get the landing page higher percentage of conversion rate. And then, of course, it'll all work out. But you work back from that. And if I work back based on that 40% of the landing page, we're looking at an ad that doesn't even need to do 1%. It needs to do like 0.8% click-through rate. So it's like, it doesn't have to be that great an ad. And as it happens, the first ad I wrote for him out the gate is doing twice that anyway. So if we're doing twice that, then pretty much you could say, look, the ad's working. So yes, we want to be thinking ahead and going, okay, the ad's not going to work forever. No ad ever does. It eventually wears out because the people who you want it to be seen by have all seen it. So at some point, we're going to need a new ad. But for now, it's working. So therefore, if it's working, it's like, let's run it. Are we really getting the conversions on the landing page? If we're not getting the conversion on the landing page, let's change the landing page. So then we're back to, okay, what are the key components that make a great landing page? And there's about 6 or so things that you need on a landing page that if any of them are missing, they are going to typically have an impact on the conversion rate. There's always exceptions to the rule, of course. But, like particularly in this case, this is a really good example actually, because my friend is so used to running organic traffic. Like he's built a great Facebook group. He's got over 5,000 people in his group, which is fantastic. He posts every day, multiple posts every day. So there's a good relationship with his group. He's had a lot of people sign up for this particular workshop from the group organically because they already know him. But here's the thing. They know him. They trust him. They like him. That's like 90% of the conversion anyway. And then if you're offering something for free, it's not a difficult decision for people. If somebody already knows you, likes you, trusts you, believes that you can get a result because they believe in your credibility, and you say, look, by the way, I'm going to do a workshop for free, that's kind of a no-brainer as an offer because all of that trust is already there, or all that belief is already there. And that's the big thing that most people miss. I used to see this a lot with speaking on stage. You'd get speakers who were so tactic focused. It's like, okay, if I do this, if I get somebody to stand up in the audience and I get them to commit to this, then, it's like Cialdini's work on little commitments lead to big commitments, like commitment. It's like, yeah, but are they comfortable commitments? Because if somebody feels they're being pressured into making a commitment they don't want, what are they going to do immediately to tomorrow after they've signed up? They're going to refund. And I've seen that happen over and over and again because too many people focus too much on tactics to kind of get people to convert in the moment. And it's like, yeah, I don't like that. One, it's kind of yucky. It's like you're putting people in a situation where they're not necessarily comfortable. So it's more compliance than it is kind of, agreement. Does that make sense? So I'm more of a let's have an agreement. But the agreement comes from, do you like me? Do you trust me? Do you believe me? Have I established my credibility? In other words, do you believe I can get the result I say I can get? So if you've got all that in place, then making an offer is so much easier. And it's the same is true here. So with cold traffic from the ad, in an ad, and we've got effectively 2 minutes or 3 minutes in the ad all told. But I would say most of my ads run about 1.5 to 2 minutes. So within that, it's like, can we establish enough interest and belief that somebody clicks through? Because pre-framing is so important. Like, I don't want an ad that's clickbait, because if an ad is clickbait, they'll click it. But the definition of clickbait for me in my head is they click it because they're like intrigued or curious, but there's no credibility, there's no belief, there's no trust there. It's just literally, I'm clicking it because I'm curious. So then the landing page has got to do all the work of establishing credibility rather than just reinforcing it or giving them or deepening it so that they go, yes, I'm willing to do this. Whereas if I've got an ad that does all that pre-framing up front that kind of helps really establish his credibility, and So therefore, as soon as they click, but before they've got to the landing page, the frame of mind they're in is one of, wow, this is interesting, and I believe this already, or I 90% believe it, so I don't need much more convincing on the landing page. That's what I want. That's a much better ad, which actually, since we've brought it up, what helps that, or what really drives that is, one, being able to establish, I would say, three things. One is to establish what's different about what you're offering, as in what's unique, what's different, and is of advantage, is a benefit to the people that you want to reach. And one of the key ways to both do that and help establish credibility is to give them an insight, to give them an aha moment, to teach them something they didn't know that they need to know. In other words, something that was missing that was causing them a problem. So if we take, generating clients for coaches, for example, if coaches are struggling to get clients and they've done a number of things, and I've seen this, they've done a number of things, they've bought courses, they've worked with other coaches, and it hasn't really helped. Then one, they get frustrated. Secondly, they get disillusioned. And thirdly, they get distrustful, because it's kind of like, this person just took my money and didn't deliver. So how do you break that pattern so that they actually are willing to give you some of their attention? And the key thing is, one, obviously, show them something different and unique so that you get their attention, but give them an aha moment. In other words, say, here's what you've been missing that nobody else has told you about before. So I'm educating to give them an insight, to let them go, oh my God, I didn't realize I needed that, and I knew nothing about it. If it's an aha moment, a perfect aha moment is something that they didn't know. Like they weren't even aware that was the thing they needed. They didn't even know it existed. So if they don't know that what they don't know, then they're missing something massively. So from my point of view, it's like, can I give them an insight, an aha moment that breaks that? So then, of course, they go, ooh, I didn't know that. This is worth checking out. That's how I want them to be thinking when they click my ad, because now they're in that frame of mind of curious, but also going, ooh, this guy's got credibility. This ad's got credibility. Whatever they're sharing, there's something different about this, and that's key. And then the other thing, of course, that you really need is why now? So one of the ways to get people to act, I used to do this in my 90-minute presentations as well, is like very early on, you're kind of establishing, why would you want to listen? Why would you want to listen to me? Why would you want to pay attention to the subject I'm going to be sharing? But also, why would you pay attention to it right now, as opposed to tomorrow or next week or next month or next year? It's like, why do you need to do this now? And one of the big frames around that is like, can you highlight that something's changed? So if you can highlight the, like for example, this week, YouTube, Google have brought in, with their advertising platform, you can no longer just run an in-stream ad. So the ads that come up when you're trying to watch a video on YouTube, and the ad that comes up before you get to see the ad, before you get to see the video you really want to see, those are in-stream ads. And it used to be that you could say, yes, I only want to run my ad as an in-stream ad. Now you can't do that. Now you've got to run it as an in-stream ad. You've got to run a discovery ad. And you can't just say, I'm only running my ad on YouTube. It has to also go out on partner sites as well. And you don't have any control over that anymore. And it's like, oh, so that's a change. So if that's changed, then obviously that's something you need to pay attention to, because it'll have an impact on the ads you write and so on and so on. So, so it's that sort of thing. Something has changed that is relevant and important for you to notice, because it could cause you pain otherwise. So you got to be aware of it. So that kind of gets people out of their comfort zone of saying, well, I've been doing this and it's working. Why do I need to do anything different? It's like, okay, it's working for now, but that's about to change dramatically. You could wake up tomorrow and it's all gone. It's a bit like people who do SEO, and I'm not a fan of SEO, as you know. Well, people who do search engine optimization, and they go like, I found this keyword phrase and I'm optimizing it and I'm number one on the Google list, and then tomorrow Google changes their algorithm and all of a sudden you're on page 100. That's one of those things of, you've got to pay attention to this now. So it's that sort of thing. So you want to be able to bring that into your ad. You want to be able to bring in what's different. You want to give them an aha moment, like tell them something that's missing that they weren't even aware they needed to know. So they go, oh my God, I didn't know I needed that. That explains everything. That's what I want them thinking. Even if they're not thinking that out loud, they're like, that's what's going on at a subconscious level. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know I needed to know that. Wow, this person's got my attention because I believe them. I believe it. They've got credibility. So boom. Then you get to the landing page. Does the landing page convert at the percentage you need it to? And then of course you're away. You've kind of got the leads, or you're on to getting the sales and so on and so on. But the maths has got to work. And this is the important part. It's like, it's no good just saying, I'm going to write an ad, put it up, and we'll just see what it does. How many clicks do I get today? How many clicks do I get yesterday? What's it costing me per click? And just randomly saying, well, it's costed me $5 a click. Well, is that good? Is that bad? Is that indifferent? I don't know. And what then you see happening, certain niches, obviously what you'll see happening in the sort of get clients niches is like, well, if it's costing me $5 a click, that's a lot of money. So I need to have my program and charge, $5,000 for my program, because otherwise the maths doesn't work. Like, I don't make any profit, blah, 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 blah. Whereas I'm more interested in saying, okay, look, what do we want to make per sale? And I'm a big advocate with anybody that I talk to of saying to them, look, if you're a coach or someone like that, and you haven't got a course that you can sell, then you're missing out. It's like, you should have some sort of course that you can sell for around $200-300. If you can do that, so it doesn't take up your time and it's a great course, then we can build a lot of freedom from that. In other words, we can create an ad, we can run the numbers, do the math. Okay, if you've got a $300 course, then we can potentially afford to spend $100 to $150 per sale. So if we work back from that, then we can say, okay, we need an ad that converts at this rate, and we need a landing page that converts at this rate, and then we need a funnel that converts at this rate to give you a sale for $150. You make $300, you make $150 profit. So I'm a big advocate of that, because that is how you get to, because once the algorithm kicks in, it really kicks in. So at that point, once you've got all those pieces nailed and dialed in, then really you're just scaling up. Now, obviously, things don't stay linear as you scale up. They will change a little bit, but ultimately that is what will give you retirement generating income and a huge amount of freedom. So with that, I will kind of wrap up and say, hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. Leave me a comment below in terms of what I've talked about, things that I maybe missed that you would like answers to. I'll certainly go through those either in a future live, or I'll just answer directly in the comments, or both. So hope you got some value out of this. Hope you've enjoyed it. And I will just leave you with this idea of make sure you know your maths. Make sure you know exactly what you can afford to spend to make a sale so you get the profit you want, and then work back from that. In the beginning, obviously, basic idea, you're going to have a sales page of some sort, whether it's a webinar or a sales letter or a video sales letter. It's going to be something to convert. There's probably going to be some sort of landing page that people see before, like they register for the webinar. That's a landing page. There's something they see before they see the video sales letter. And then, of course, there's then your ad. So if you work backwards through all of that, you will arrive at, you need to be able to afford this amount per click, which means you need your ad to have this click-through rate. And then that's your target. That's where the creativity comes in, so that you work on developing an ad that gives you at least that click-through rate. So then you know the whole thing's going to work. All right. Know your maths, be creative, have your targets in place, and then you will get the results. You will get the freedom generating income that you're looking for. All right. I'll see you in the next live. Any questions, leave them in the comments. I will talk to you again some point in the future. Take care.